Good morning everyone, it's Yvonne here from the Aussie Goddess to do your What's Cracking for the weekend. Thank you so much for subscribing to my channel. If you're interested in doing personal readings, joining any of the classes or making a donation to help grow the channel, all of the information's in the box below. I'm going to use the Connolly Tarot for your reading. And I'm going to give you an upfront apology today for all those who join me on the daily diary. And thank you so much. It's been such a great experience. I've actually been really sick all night, so I'm going to not do that today. If you're waiting on personal readings, normally I'd get them out by today. So please be patient with me. I'm going to see how I go over the next day or so. But rather than persevere, I'm just going to do these readings and go back to bed. The Lovers card's coming out here though. Alright, okay, let's get into this. Okay, so I have the Hermit card coming through first. Now the Hermit card is sort of a card of healing in some ways, but it is about going inside to sort of find your inner light, taking time out from the world, and not really sort of having contact with people. It's interesting because there's two people on this card, but the Hermit is usually like the person who goes and finds the little place in a cave somewhere and just sort of hides away for a while they're doing inner searching. Okay, so we have the Nine of Wands here. So perhaps somebody's been hurt by something, or something hasn't quite worked out the way something has happened. The Nine of Wands is sort of a card that's repetitive harm or repetitive hurt. So you could be recovering from something here and deciding to take time out from the world. Yeah, it looks like you're working on something. So you may have discovered something about yourself that you need to sort of work on. The Strength card is all about taming your inner demons. So sometimes we sort of become aware of something we're doing a certain way, especially if it's repetitive behavior like this. And we might take the time to sort of go inside to really understand, you know, where has this behavior come from, or this way of doing things. So it's sort of like a self-development energy. Queen of Swords is here. So it could be that some of you are dealing with an air sign, but I actually feel that this is your energy. I feel that perhaps something has happened here that's might have made you feel a bit defensive. Maybe you haven't spoken up and sort of said how it's made you feel. Maybe you haven't had the opportunity to do that. But something here sort of got you off whack a little bit. And it's sort of making you realize that maybe you don't speak up often enough for yourself. And you could even be considering cutting something out of your life here. But you're definitely sort of resisting something, or trying to understand something within yourself that you don't do so well, that you want to do better. So it's understanding that whatever this is, you've been doing it for a long time, and maybe it's time to stand up for yourself, speak up for yourself, or, you know, find a better way of doing things so you don't consistently get hurt by it. Okay, so we have the King of Pentacles. So for some of you, this may be in regards to a partner. The King of Pentacles does often represent the other component in a relationship. I don't want to say the male, because sometimes this is a female card. So whoever this is that you're dealing with, it could be even a father figure, but somebody here you're clashing with, and there's some sort of understanding now as to why that happens. And you're sort of going back in your own psyche to try and work out what was this issue you had, either with a father figure or it could be a husband. But whatever it is, it needs sorting on now. Okay, so we have the Love card coming through here. So it's a brand new start. Now, this could be in regards to the relationship with a person. It can also be in regards to a relationship with yourself. Because what happens sometimes when we have realizations about ourselves and we work on them, we get this sort of energy of realizing that perhaps in situations we've been in, we don't really offer ourselves the same amount of compassion and understanding that we offer to other people. And sometimes this is about turning that round and realizing, you know, that you need to put the love and the generosity and compassion back into yourself. So there's a very strong feeling here that perhaps you're learning to understand that perhaps some of the things that have happened that, you know, have occurred in this particular relationship or situation are perhaps not so much about what you're doing as what you've learned. So it might be your response to something. Yeah, we've got the High Priestess coming in here. So you're definitely sort of inner searching. But there's also a feeling here that you probably haven't quite discovered what's going on yet. Sometimes with our past stuff and our past history, we are not really aware of why we do things a certain way because we've learned them out of habit or out of sort of adjustment or, you know, patterns that we've made. And the High Priestess sometimes talks about things being hidden from view. So maybe in order to find out why this particular situation, or it may be lots of situations, but it may have come from a father figure. All right. So we have the Devil card coming in. So I can tell now what it's all about. So it could be an ego thing, without doubt. Now, there's nothing, it is nothing wrong with having issues around ego, having masks you wear. Those sort of things are sometimes what we put in place to protect ourselves. So especially if you're sort of going through this energy where you are feeling like you always have to stand up for yourself. Bullying is a really good one. Let's take bullying. And you're being constantly bullied. And it could have something to do with a father figure, but it certainly has to do with the fact that you may have accepted this behavior as your own, and you may beat yourself up about this. So it's about learning how to work with yourself better and understand why bullying occurs and what you need to do to understand that. And it may be, you know, like the Queen of Swords, where you really have to pick up that sword to stand up for yourself. Oh, there's a brand new start here, where you have to pick up this sword and speak your mind. But some of that requires strength, especially if you've not been used to doing that all your life. So it could be that you've had, you know, this King of Pentacles may be representing more than just the King of Pentacles, but I feel it's very possible here it could have come from a father figure or possibly a husband. But the Devil card says you're tied to a way of behaving and you need to work out how to remove the chains here. It may be that you've just got so used to doing things the way you have that you haven't realized this behavior. This can be codependency. So that idea that you put other people's needs above your own, or, you know, have more respect for other people than you do for yourself. And, you know, very often you end up sort of sticking up for other people and the underdogs rather than sticking up for yourself. And I always say, remember, you're just as important as the other person. So try and take on that energy and understand, if you were sticking up for another person, not just yourself, how would you respond to this? How would you work with that energy? Because we do see that there's a rainbow here. So there is some sort of happiness coming through behind this learning. So it's almost like once you've released the chains, you'll be able to find your rainbow. But it's finding out what exactly is creating this pattern that you're doing. Now, also, you know, they just said to me, this can be, you know, like a son or an uncle or a boss or somebody else you're dealing with, but you're repeating a pattern with the same sort of person. Okay, so we have the Temperance card coming through here. So Temperance is all about balance, but it's also about divine timing. So it could have been that up until this point you haven't been ready to learn this lesson. Might be why the High Priestess is here now to say it is time to learn. The time's right. So you may be trying to understand this sort of something you do that devalues who you are. And each time you do it, you devalue yourself more because you walk away from a situation questioning yourself again. Why does this happen to me? What am I doing here? And I feel like you're realizing now it's time to really work on that issue. We do have the Five of Swords here. So you could have walked away from a person. You may have finally come to some sort of conclusion that it can't keep going the way it is. And maybe you've packed up your kit bag and decided you're going to want to work on something here. Queen of Wands coming out. So I love this because it means that you're taking on the energy of the Queen of Wands here. which means that you're stepping into your own power and saying, rightio, I don't want to put up with this anymore. I'm not going to deal with this anymore. This isn't the right way. It's got to stop. So I feel like some of you are taking action now with this. Understanding your own way of managing things. Okay, as I always say, this is no offers accepted, shops closed. Looks like you're taking downtime here to really have a think about what you want. It may be in regards to love here, because you're sort of knocking back a love offer. But it may be that you're realizing in perhaps relationships that you're creating some sort of pattern for yourself by doing this. So it may be that at the moment while you're sort of working on this energy that you've decided you don't want to have any other relationships until you've resolved this. So it could have been you've been cycling with particular personalities as well. It still stems back to some sort of parent figure for me. Okay, beautiful. Ace of Swords coming through. So the Ace of Swords is a card that talks about seeing the truth, grabbing the truth. You're sort of King Arthur. You're removing this sword from the rock now. You're really understanding what this is, what this truth is, how you need to hold back. So I'm just going to read these cards here again, and then I'll pull the last card out. So we have you going inside to work on perhaps some things about yourself that haven't always served you well. They could have created pain. This can be all about, being quite sort of resentful and angry that you keep doing the same things over and over again, but finally understanding that there is a pattern there. It's not like it's just hurting you anymore. It may have hurt you in the past, but now you're going, okay, I'm hurt, but I felt like this before. What is it that makes me feel like I'm being taken advantage of time and time again? So there's definitely inner work here with the Strength card. This is very potent, this energy. Being able to sort of let things go, being able to sort of recreate yourself here. And you're taking on the Queen of Swords energy, so you're taking no prisoners here. So if people are not fulfilling you anymore, or not respecting you, or being that place in your life that's good for you, you're cutting it out. And you're taking a leap of faith here. So you're deciding here that you're not going to put up with it anymore. And if people treat you this way, you're just going to either cut them out, speak very clearly, or walk away. Clear. You've realized your truth, and you're not going to accept things in future that aren't right for you. That's it. So, right, beautiful. So we have the Eight of Wands coming through. So the Eight of Wands is about, sorry, my throat's really sore. It's about receiving messages backwards and forwards. And it could be that you've decided here to make contact with people that have treated you in this way before, because somehow or another you're deciding here, yeah, look. So you're making a decision here that if people don't give and take in the relationship, if you're not getting something back from a relationship, whether that be a family member, a friend, or just someone at work, you're not going to do this anymore. You're recognizing here very quickly now. So obviously the ball's dropped, the penny's dropped, whatever you'd like to say. Something has hit you here to make you understand that there is a reciprocal way of being within relationships. And if you're doing all the giving and the other person's doing all the taking, well, then maybe you need to start thinking about how to do that differently. But it's about investing in personal relationships that give back to you. So if you're putting all your energy into something and the other person's not giving back, or you're investing all your love, your time, your energy into something and the other person's not doing anything in return, or maybe feeding you breadcrumbs, as we always say, maybe you're just not getting enough, you're choosing here to cut them out and walk away, and not invest in it anymore. You have to do it for your own good. It may be that the other people that are treating you that way have just got used to treating you that way, or treating people that way. We have the card of the Christ flame coming out here. I haven't read this one before, so 31. Okay. I'm not going to read the whole card. I think you need the whole card. I'm just going to read the oracle message. Sorry, it took me a couple of minutes just to sort of read a couple of lines to realise perhaps it's just the oracle. The oracle brings guidance that you're connecting with the universal Christ consciousness, and your heart is meant to awaken as a sacred heart, bearing the Christ flame of divine love this lifetime. You're part of the wave of awakening happening on the earth now. You're exactly where you're meant to be and doing exactly what you're meant to be doing. Keep going. So I feel like here this is part of your awakening process, perhaps seeing some of your behaviours this way. And perhaps this is the most damaging behaviour you have, you know, not loving yourself as much as you do others. So there needs to be a change here if this is going to progress, if you're going to grow through this. I mean, if you're more than happy to be trampled on by other people, that's your decision. But somewhere along the way, it has to change for you to progress, for you to grow. And the poem here is absolutely beautiful. So I want to read the poem to you. It says, love is more than words can define. It is a feeling which wells up inside and longs for release. It is a smile which starts in my heart and spreads across my face like a silly grin. It is a knowledge so deep in my being that every cell speaks in a language only lovers know. And most of all, it is the beginning, the birth, the possibility, the promise of a tomorrow, the hope that grows into something we can only imagine when hearts combine and love becomes more. So this is about growing your ability to love others in a healthy way, rather in this way, this codependent way of giving to others more than yourself. That love has to come to you first in order for you to love others. Have a wonderful weekend. I'll see you on Monday.